Well, MiniWarGamers, from the title, I'm sure you've guessed that I am now starting to play with some Eldar. I've always thought they've been really cool. I've actually considered them as one of my starting armies. I am glad I chose Orcs, but Eldar, I've always had that cool feel to them. I've always wanted to play them, and so we do have a studio army that I'm sure some of you have seen Owen play a little bit with, and so I really kind of wanted to bring it out, show what we have, and I'm going to do, this is the beginning of learning how to play Eldar, and so those of you who have thought the same thing, or already have, you can add supporting comments below, but basically we're just going to review what we have and how to start building a list, and just a short little video here with Kris. Say hello.
Hello, Kris.
I didn't say hello, Kris. I just said say hello. Oh. The joke didn't work.
I'm not. So if you're going to start Eldar, the Eldar army each unit does one thing exceptionally well. And in that one area, not even Space Marines can match them. But in other areas, they completely get smoked in other areas. So for example, Fire Dragons. They all carry melta guns and melta bombs. Awesome at devastating vehicles and fortifications, stuff like that. Heavy armor, heavy multi-wound kind of targets, big tough targets. Close combat, get ruined. Striking Scorpions is another example. Great at dealing with weak horde kind of armies, Tyranid Gaunts, Orc Boys, stuff like that. Can hold their own because of their many attacks, higher strength, and better armor. Whereas Banshees, they're good against heavier armor, not as high as strength, striking first, but against hordes, they completely get ruined. Scorpions, the same thing. Really armor-piercing kind of targets, anybody with power weapons, stuff like that, will completely ruin Scorpions. Eldar, every unit does one thing exceptionally well, with an exception to Eldar Guardians and Wraith Lords and things of that kind of, where there's gaps in the lines, these units can fill in certain areas. Alright,
so let's review what is in this army, because I was starting to look through, I stole your codex, I was looking through it, and basically I got a game tomorrow, and so it'll be shown right after this video, as part of this video, so it's just a small game, 500 points. Let's review what we have and what would be a good idea to bring. Alright, so this is our HQ choices.
And so first you have the Avatar. He's really good for keeping everybody fearless. He's a demon, and he's immune to fire damage and melta weapons, stuff like that.
Cool. I'm guessing he's pretty expensive, points-wise.
He's not too bad. Next we have this fella. He typically is an AUTARCH in armies. Really the biggest advantage of taking him is a +1 to your reserve rolls. And that's about it, other than giving him, optional war gear. You can make him fill gaps, give him a jet bike, that kind of stuff. An all-round kind of a general leader. Next we have FARSEERS, and this is a different assortment of FARSEERS. FARSEER is really good because it gives you access to the psychic powers, and he's got some really good ones, or if you roll on the new tables and get some really fun ones as well. Points can vary, of course, for this guy, ranging from fairly inexpensive to really expensive. Right. And with them, they give you access to Warlocks, and these guys are lots of fun for bolstering your units of Guardians, Wraith Guard, artillery crews, or they can form a squad themselves, which becomes quite formidable when you lead them with the Farseer. And
is that what we call a Seer Council?
That would be a Seer Council, and Seer Councils on foot are lots of fun because of Destructor and Fortune, where you can reroll all your armor saves. That gets to be quite stressful for your opponent.
I know, I faced it.
And then when you throw them all on jet bikes, then they become even more stressful because they're fast and a little better armored, and with the new rules for Seer Council, they become really fast and really maneuverable. And so
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, and so next we have special characters. This is Eldrad. We also have Uriel, which we don't have currently in this collection, and a smattering of the Phoenix Lords, who are basically like little advanced exarchs with special powers and such. And their points costs are not too bad. They're less than the 200 point category for decent abilities, and they can bolster up their aspects that they represent.
So those are HQs.
Mostly, yeah.
So just give you a quick overview. We do have a bunch of models here, but to make things easy, these are our elite choices that are available to me. Now there's also the Harlequins, you said?
Yeah, the Harlequins, but we don't have any that are fully painted other than what's in my collection, so...
I won't be using them for a little while.
No.
Alright, so we got the Howling Banshees, right?
Yeah, Howling Banshee. So they're really good close combat. They strike when they first charge in. They are initiative 10 with power swords, so they're taking care of power armor and stuff like that really well. They're really good against like high armor targets.
Cool, cool.
Fire Dragon.
Those are the ones you're saying that they can kill vehicles better than any other unit in the game.
They carry little melta-guns and melta-bombs. Good for popping vehicles, you know. It's...
What are these guys?
Striking Scorpion. Now these are Rogue Trader era.
Old model.
Yeah, they're old, but they still fit because the look of the models hasn't really changed much. And so these guys are really good because they got many attacks, really good armor, and higher strength. Now, that's a big difference because the Howling Banshees are only strength 3. So even against Space Marines, you know, it's a 5-6, whereas the Striking Scorpions are strength 4. So at least it's a 4 better. And, you know, there's always a debate back and forth as to which unit is better. And I really don't fall into those debates because, again, it's one unit, does one thing very well. Yeah.
Cool, cool. And then last up, Mr. Blind Man.
Yeah, Blind Man, WRAITHGUARDS. These guys, lots of fun. Ridiculous power weapon on, or powerful weapon on their cells. Wraith Cannon. Couldn't even spit that out. One downside, of course, is the Wraith sight. So if there's no psychers nearby, they'll fall asleep. Otherwise, you're talking about guys who are toughness, high toughness, short range, but powerful weapon.
Alright, for our troops, not too many troops for the Eldar.
No, but they got some really good troops.
What are these guys called?
Dire Avengers. They're basically little Spartans. They got better range gun than regular Guardians. And they got the Shrieking Catapult. And the Exarch, if you include him, gives them the ability to shoot an additional shot per guy.
Oh yeah, that Blade Storm, right?
Yeah. And...
but then they can't shoot next turn.
Right.
But you don't need to shoot next turn because they're all dead.
You know, decent armor.
I got the snipers or scouts or...
Yeah, snipers. Sniper rifles. Hide, infiltrate, you know, stuff like that.
They got like plus their cover, right?
Yeah, they got stealth or...
yeah, they hide well on one corner of the board. They kind of stay there and pick off guys and be an annoyance.
And then we got regular Guardians. These are
a weapon.
And they get access to the support weapons that travel alongside them. And they all have, you know, a short-ranged gun, but at only a couple points per guy. They're fairly cheap, and you can take quite a few of them. And you know, when you start thinking of like a avatar running beside them, they become quite hardy.
And you can upgrade them to Storm Guardians.
Well, it's not really an upgrade. It's just kind of like a sideways upgrade kind of thing, where they can exchange their ranged guns for close combat weapons. And so you throw a Warlock in beside them, that increases their abilities. Avatar beside them, all of a sudden you got fearless guys who hit faster than Space Marines and get lots of attacks. And just general fun.
Alright, so for fast attack, and then there's also the Shining Spears and the Vipers. Oh, we have access to some Swooping Hawks and Warp Spiders, which you really don't see too often on the field.
No, a lot of people tend to pass over the Swooping Hawks largely. Warp Spiders, not so much. A lot of people use Warp Spiders, it seems, just because they got good armor, decent mid-range weapon, and the ability to move twice, and you know, all that. Whereas the Swooping Hawks, people, I don't know why, they tend to pass over them. They're really great against lower armored infantry like Dark Eldar, Orcs, Imperial Guard. Could just massacre them in droves, and I don't know why people kind of, you know...
Interesting.
Yeah, they're really good.
So they can, like, I know they can leave the board and come back on and drop templates and do all that kind of crazy stuff.
When they come onto the board, they drop a little bomb, you know, which clears out hordes.
And the warp spiders count as jump infantry, although technically they're like teleporting around, and there's a chance you can get some of them lost in the warp as you're doing that.
Yeah. Now the downfall for warp spiders though is that their gun is so short range.
Mm-hmm. You need to get dangerously close to the enemy.
Yeah, dangerously close. Now their Exarch has power weapons, and you know, but they're not really a close combat unit. They're more of a close support kind of role.
Right. Well, I'll be excited to try these out. Alright, so for some heavy support units, we have, what are these guys called?
Dark Reapers. These guys are missile launchers. They get a couple shots, and they're awesome at killing Space Marines. You're talking about guys who can hit on threes, kill on, wound on a 3 with no armor saves.
I like that. I like that a lot.
With good range.
This big fancy man.
Wraith Lord, high toughness, decent armor. Suffers from the same problems as the Wraith Guard, but when he's got the high toughness, you know, it's really not a huge issue. You can give him optional weapons or give him a sword, which makes him, you know, really good in that kind of whatever role you want to assign to him.
I'm playing Dawn of War 2. They're pretty strong.
And in the tabletop, they're the same way.
Okay, cool. And then
a battery of support weapons where you can take optional kind of weapon options for them, either D cannon, vibro cannon, or the heck is the other one?
Alright, so long range artillery pieces.
Artillery pieces, yeah, hang behind, but again, you can give them warlocks and bolster their abilities, and they usually just kind of sit behind the lines. But again, Eldar, you know, Eldar have access to so many different weapons that, you know, you can make any kind of army with them. Oh, we're missing Warwalkers too.
Alright, so yeah, so we don't have Warwalkers, but these are basically our vehicles that are accessible. We have a bunch of wave serpents, a few fire prisms, but alright, so we got, so this is the wave serpent, so they can act as a transport to who?
To just about everybody.
Well, I guess they can hold anybody, but what can they you bring them as like a vehicle attachment?
It's a dedicated transport.
Okay.
So it's the only dedicated transport right now for Eldar, but for its points, it's got to be one of the best ones, because you're talking about a skimmer that's fast, it's a tank, decent armor, many weapon options, many war gear options.
Alright, and then this guy in the middle with his dual shot. I remember fighting against him once, against Joe.
The Night Spinner.
Yeah. So no, or yeah, because I'll be wielding it.
If you know you're facing hordes, accept no substitutes. And then beside that is a fire prism.
There you go.
I knew eventually I'd spit it out. Fire prism, really good against high armor targets, and also good at dealing with hordes as well, because of its ability to, similar to the Tau railgun, it can fire a focus shot which can deal with high armor targets, or it can use a disperse shot that can deal with hordes and clumped up infantry. And
good to know. Like that. And so that is a quick overview of the new Eldar army that I'll be wielding and trying to use for you guys. So any comments, suggestions below, I'd love to hear them as I learn, and join me as I kill noobs with Eldar. You can make armies for dealing with hordes. You can make armies that are good at killing elite kind of stuff, you know, the high armor value stuff. Eldar can do it all. And why more people don't play Eldar, I don't know. I think often it is because playing Eldar usually is a challenge.